Hello and welcome back to the Beer Ladies podcast. I am today's host, Hilary. And in this episode, we have a special guest, Grainne Walsh from Metalman Brewery, who is not only the owner of Metalman Brewery, but I believe one of the earlier women in brewing in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Hi. So,
and
thanks
I
for
also
having me on.
and I also have with me Lisa Grimm.
Hello, like, subscribe, follow us, do all the things. But thank you for coming back and listening. We're excited to have another episode.
Yes. So just a reminder, we are on YouTube for those who prefer to watch, as well as wherever you get your podcasts for those who prefer to listen. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and leave us a rating or share this podcast with a friend. Now, I've done it all backwards and introduced my guests first, but that's a-okay. We're not bound by rules here. So, first and foremost, before we get into it, what are we drinking? Grainne, you are our guest, so I will ask you first, what you drinking, girl?
So I have an Antipodean IPA from down in Dingle.
Beautiful. Ooh, Lisa, what have you got?
So I school nuts, so nice and low key and really quite delicious.
And I am drinking Atomium by Metalman, which is a lovely boozy Belgian amber, and I was very excited to see that. So it's beautiful. Cheers, everybody.
Here.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So we have you on, Grainne, as part of our Speaking to Women in Brewing series in honor of International Women's History Month. And just wanted to get a little bit of your background. And so I guess to start off, what made you get into brewing? What was your inspiration?
It's a bit trite to say drinking beer, but it's probably the truth. I guess when I first started drinking beer, I was drinking the same industrial beer that everybody else kind of my age in college was drinking. That's really all that was kind of available. When I started branching out a little bit, I moved to Dublin after college, and we used to go to the Porterhouse a bit. Porterhouse had really fun beers that none of us had ever heard of, and it was from where I lived, so it was a great place to go. But it was a very unique offering in Dublin at the time. It was shortly after they had opened. There wasn't anywhere else really that had such an offering apart from the Porterhouse in Bray. So I guess around the time I met Tim, who's the other founder at Metalman, I was really just mostly drinking industrial beer. But when we started seeing each other, Tim was living in the UK at the time still, and I was living in Dublin. So I would fly over to see him, and he would fly over to see me. When I would go and see him, we'd go to the bar and say, "What do you want to drink?" And I would look at this range of random names of stuff on a bar with these pump clips serving this liquid that was completely unfamiliar with because I was used to fizzy lager mostly. And he would say, "What do you want to drink?" And I'd go, "I have no idea. That one or that one. Just pick one and see what happens." It's really delicious. It's absolutely awful. It was kind of lucky dip. So that probably started my beer education as such. And we ended up drinking, a lot of different beers when I would visit England. And it really just sort of snowballed from there, I guess, over several years. Most of our holidays ended up being, will we go and see a local brewery? And then it started being, will we go somewhere where we can go and see a local brewery? And then it started being, this is the brewery I want to go and see. Let's go to go.
Familiar.
So, yeah. And then I found myself living in Dublin, home brewing quite a bit. And I was working in tech at the time, and I wasn't really loving it. I sort of knew that I didn't really fit, that it wasn't going to be a long-term passion for me. I could see some of my colleagues that I was working with, and they were so excited about everything they did. and I really, really wasn't. And I wanted to be involved in something that I was that excited about. And that thing for me at that time of my life was beer. So I started looking at what options I had available to me. Drew up a business plan, went and talked to a few people, hatched a madcap idea, and here we are 10 years later.
Amazing. Cheers. Cannot believe it's been 10 years. I was thinking it was around the time you were homebrewing when I met you.
That's right.
When we went to those meetups at the Bull and Castle to drink each other's beer.
Yeah.
God, yeah, that was ages ago now.
Yeah. So we probably started going to those meetups in 2008, I'm going to say, ish, 2008, 2009. So yeah, that was when we first really got to talk to other people about brewing beer at home. And before that, we were brewing rubbish. I'm sure it was, we had our best efforts, but the internet wasn't quite the behemoth it is today, and accessibility of information was much more. You really had to know where to look, I suppose. But when we joined that group, we met so many people who knew so much about making really good beer at home, and we learned loads. And so if it's anything, it's their fault. Amen.
So what was it like taking that leap from leaving your job and starting your own business?
Looking back on it, I feel like the right answer should be terrifying, but it was just so exciting. I do remember the day that I drove out of the Amazon car park with my desk packed up, the contents of my desk packed up in my little car, driving down to Waterford. Tim was still going to be living in Dublin for a while because he still had like a real job. And I remember driving down the motorway going, listening. Phantom was on the radio. I can even remember some of the songs that were playing. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. It was surreal, I suppose, is probably the only way to describe it. That was the 31st of January 2010. So 1st of February, I was officially the first employee at Metalman and Brewing. And on the Friday, the 4th of February, we brewed the first beer at White Gypsy down in Templemore. And I still have a picture of the sparkly blue Wellington boots that I bought in a rush in Penny on a Thursday. So fantastic. The Wellington boots that ever existed, I'm fairly sure. I'm not
sparkly
very
blue wellies, lovely.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm an ex-Amazonian myself, so I know the feeling of freedom when you've left sort of Uncle Jeff's employ, and then you're like, I can do other things. So
yeah.
It was that in Ireland or in the US?
That was in Seattle, but it's a funny story in that when we first started coming to Dublin, it was with Amazon, and they all said, "Oh, you got to drink this Metalman beer." She's an ex-Amazonian, and so there was a real there was a real loyalty there.
Real support for you there,
Yeah.
Grainne.
Yeah, they were super. It was brilliant. And I was just looking back at the pictures of our launch in the Bull. We had our lunch in the Bull and Castle on the 3rd of March, I think it was, in 2011, and a table full of Amazon people. It was great. But Seattle played a big part, I think, as well, Lisa, in my beer journey, I think, because when we lived in Dublin back in kind of the mid-noughties, there really was still quite a limited number of places that had a good beer. You really had to seek them out. And as a result, we really only liked going to maybe 4 or 5 bars because they were the ones that we knew we could get a decent beer in. So our friends were like, really, oh, guys, would you just get over it and come to a normal bar? And we would be like, no, standards. But we wouldn't be like that now. Any bar, just let me into any bar. But I traveled back to Seattle maybe every 12 or 14 weeks with work. And it was just so refreshing. You could just walk in anywhere and a selection of good, locally good beers.
Yeah, it's a great beer town. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And that blew my mind. And I was like, why is Ireland not that? We've got such a good reputation for beer, but we all drink rubbish. Why can it not be like this, where we can have a reputation for good beer, where you can have variety, choice, where it isn't like the yellow and the black one? So
See, it was still
Yeah.
just the Amazon leadership principles at play. You were insisting on the highest standards. So there you go. That's the problem. You never get them out of your head. But
So, another question I have for you, Grainne, is as a woman in this industry, have you faced sexism or mansplaining or anything like that during your tenure?
Yes. Yeah, like I mean, it goes without saying. I think in some cases, when you are a woman in an industry that tends to be so male dominated and still has that sort of, a lot of beer is pitched to that sort of consumer still. That it's getting better, but it's slow. And craft beer is definitely better than industrial beer, but it's,
Sure.
you know, it's going to take time. But inevitably, what happens is you go to maybe a trade show or a festival or something, and somebody says, "Oh, so you work with the brewery? Are you in marketing?" Every time. No, not every time, and it does depend on the person. Women don't ask that. So you know, you do get that, but in general, there isn't really, you know, when you say, "Well, no, I'm the owner," and they're like, "Oh," no, and often they are kind of looking around for the other owner, right? And the other one who makes the beer, who will be up and warm perhaps, and I think that's kind of what people feel comfortable with. They think if there's a man and a woman team behind a brewery, that it must be the man doing the brewing and must be the woman doing the telling. So I don't really mind that so much, because I do think women are good at telling stories. We're good communicators. We're good tasters, so we're able to talk about beer and really well. So there is sort of an element of why that might be a good fit for a lot of brewers, but it isn't everywhere, right? But I've never had sort of pushback, really, but never really, you know, where you think, actually, I'm the founder and I was originally the brewer and I'm the head brewer still, you know. There's never, that's always been met with, "Oh, right, wow, cool," you know, in general. There's always a couple of people who don't really believe you and think like, they're like, "Sure you are." But you know, whatever, there's always going to be people like that around. They're not gender specific either.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that we've seen forever and we will continue to see forever, is the the assumption that, well, there must be a man behind this, and people must look, when Tim is around, people must look to Tim and be like, "Oh, okay, he's obviously." Yeah, exactly.
But this one, like, it's still hard. It's going to be hard to get away from this while there are still, we'd say, that's, for example, there's a publication that we get delivered in through the brewery every month, and it is it's a magazine for brewers. Every month, the picture on the front is one or more men with beards standing in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Well,
Right.
they have to have beards.
If there is a woman on the cover, she is part of a group. There's never a woman in front of stainless steel with or without a beard. There's never one, a woman and a man, or God forbid, two women. If there's a woman, there are multiple people, and most of them are men. And it's really depressing. It's like every month it's the same thing, and it's just like, how are we going to move away from this if the publications that are supposed to be championing our industry are refusing to even acknowledge that people who are not white or male exist in our industry?
Yeah,
So,
and they probably don't even see it. Like it probably just looks, normal, in air quotes, to them. So
Yeah.
it's familiar. Yeah. So
Exactly.
and that's something that I have seen change in the 10 years that we've been involved in the industry, and it is getting better. But I think the only reason it's getting better is because people are screaming about it. And I think that is, I would like to see more change in the next 10 years than we've seen in the last 10. So I think we probably do need to get a little bit louder and a little bit more inclusive still around what we're doing. And it's it's completely achievable. It just requires a small shift in perception, I guess. But
Yeah, well, to your point too, just about kind of the like Seattle breweries. I know even there, one of them has to put on the back of the T-shirt that it's run by 2 girls and a guy. Having to constantly remind people that, hi, we're also 2 of the founders. So.
yeah. Oh, it's true. But they probably do the marketing, right?
Yeah, they do all the socials while the guy does the brewing, right?
God. Yes. Give me a match on shovel before Facebook account any day.
Yeah. Oh,
For
funny.
sure.
Oh, goodness.
And onto a lighter topic now. Grainne, what is your favorite beer style? And I'll go easy on you. I'll let you pick a top 3.
God.
You can have I give you a top 3. What's your top 3?
My favorite answer to any questions like this, it's always the same answer. It's always, it depends.
Yes.
It depends what kind of humor I'm in, what time of day it is, what time of the morning it is, what, who I'm with, how much fun I'm having with the people I'm with, how much fun I'm not having with them. Like it really, and it varies. And like last year, I would have said something different to what I say this year. It changes all the time. When we traveled a little bit in Eastern Europe at one point, and my drink, what I loved was like a sweet dark lager. Could not get enough. Yum. When I try and drink it now, I'm like, yes, this is beautiful for one beer. With way more bitterness and more hop character. And other things then as well. I broke my leg in 2019, and I had to have an operation to put a plate in. And after that operation, I could not drink hoppy beer for like, I would say 6 or 8 months. I had zero interest in beer. Yeah,
wow.
Really weird. Coffee. I didn't drink coffee or hoppy beer for a good 6 or 8 months after that. And I actually nearly had to train my palate back again to get back into both of them because I had no interest in it. It was like, and that made it quite a challenge in the brewery because you're tasting everything, right? And you're like, oh, God. I was like, hoppy beer? Okay, yeah, was okay. Yep, tastes like it should. I don't want it though. So it does, and it happens, I guess, with different styles. Then you just, you kind of evolve, your palate changes or what have you. But I'm back on the hoppy beer now. Actually, at the moment, I can't get enough of it. So at the moment, I would say probably a West Coast IPA might be my favorite style, like a proper solid, maybe 6.5% classic West Coast hops. That's what I'm liking. But I do have a bit of a soft spot for a NEPA at the moment, as long as it's not too soupy. So.
Yeah.
I love that description.
Yeah. And you know what, Lisa, same question to you. What would be your top 3?
Oh gosh, like it's the same thing, right? It all depends, and it always sort of goes back and forth. But I mean, I'm always a big nerd for a mild, just because I love a good dark mild, something especially that's low key that you can have a couple of. You're not going to get silly at the end of the day. But I also do really like, and it's going to be a little contradictory, a hoppy porter. And I know, historically there used to be more, and then there weren't, and there were again. But I like that sort of balance of the sort of the dark and the hops. And again, like I know a Cascadian Dark Ale or a Black IPA, whichever we're calling them this week. I always like those sort of darker things. But again, just the other day I had the Thornbridge Firestone Walker collaboration West Coast IPA, which is just perfect West Coast IPA, and it was so gorgeous. And I was just like, oh, you're reminded. This can be so good when you have the one that's just right. But I think I'm not quite ready for it to be summer. I'm still kind of going for the darker, not heavier ones, but the darker ones that just have a little bit of a sort of comfort edge to them. We'll put it that way.
Okay. And I guess for me, it also depends. Time of year, what I feel like really. Sometimes I really just want like a good solid beer. I am a slut for amber ales. I love amber ale.
And there aren't enough. There aren't enough.
There aren't enough. So just a little hint out for anybody that's listening that might be a brewer. Amber ales.
Jammer is almost ready to hit the shelves and it's tasting good.
Ooh.
Nice one. Oh, the Windjammer. Oh, yeah.
From New Zealand amber. Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely to hear. Yeah, I love an amber ale. In the summertime, I do like a lighter beer. I like a good Pilsner. So if you've ever been to, what is it called? Oh my God, I'm blanking on it now. If you've, it's the one on the Keys, Bar Pifco. If you've ever been to Bar Pifco, they have all the Eastern European lagers or Pilsners.
Yeah.
And they are so nice in the summertime. And I remember back in the before core, we went there one night to have some pints and the hockey championships are on. And those Eastern Europeans, man, they love hockey.
Yeah.
It was a celebration there. The vibe was so good. Like everybody was just in such a good mood and people were celebrating and it was so good natured. Everybody was slapping each other on the back and it was a great time. So yeah, sometimes it's all about the atmosphere, right?
Oh,
So
that
yeah.
sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. And I do also like a brown ale, like a standard brown ale on the nuttier side of flavors. That's my jam right there.
Yeah, and I do feel we're kind of spoiled for choice with some really good ones here. Like there's like the Cavan ones, St. Mel's. You know, there's some really nice brown ales that are just on the regular. So
This one that I like, the McNutty. Who does the McNutty one?
Oh, the Lochgill one. Yeah,
Lochgill,
that's nice too.
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a good one.
Yeah, no, I go for that one too. The macadamia nut tie, and I'm like, maybe I can't taste it, but I don't care. You said it's there. I'm happy. I'll take it. It's all good.
Absolutely. Grainne, what you drinking? You still on the same?
Still on the same. Do I need to up my game a bit?
No, you're good. You're good. I'm finishing up this because I am desperate to try. So the second one that I have is your Razzbeer.
Oh.
The spicy raspberry sour.
One of my favorites.
Yes, I'm desperate to try it.
I love this.
So I'm waiting to finish this one before I crack that bad boy open.
Give myself the exercise. It's so good.
Yeah. So how do you come up with like what's your recipe formulation like? How do you just sort of think, ooh, this would be great, and then kind of scientifically go from there? Still kind of have the home brewing mindset, or what's how do you think about scaling it up?
I suppose we do a little bit of. It's kind of hard to. We still haven't bothered investing in a pilot kit, which is probably really stupid. We sort of tend to test in prod, but I suppose you just kind of get a feel for ingredients, and sometimes take words from a different beer and manipulate it in a way that we maybe think we want to go a direction we want to go with something different, just to see what will happen, and what kind of and how we would sort of dial in the recipe from that. And sometimes we just like say, I really like the sound of this hop. I've had a sniff of it.
Yeah.
Let's just throw 10 kilos of that in a dry hop and see what happens. So it's a little bit of everything. And just the other night I was wasting time on Twitter, and I saw somebody tweet about a homebrew Turkish Delight stout they did. And I'm going through a bit of a rosewater Turkish Delight phase at the moment. I have found that we have a really awesome local Middle Eastern deli, and they sell the most amazing Turkish Delight. And I was just like, steal recipes, steal ideas from home brewers on the internet, or it's like in this bad form. But that just sounds like something so awesome that maybe we'll dabble in next winter.
Yeah. What
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
I really like the sound of it. So I have a feeling there's going to be like drops of rose water going in glasses over the next little while of random beers, just to see what happens. So yeah, I don't have this is how I formulate recipes. I'll think about what it is that I think I would like to drink.
Mhm.
Really, I should probably be thinking about what other people like to drink. Because yeah, and it's just about coming up with sort of interesting flavors. And we've got an anniversary beer that's going to come out in the next few weeks, all things going well, which is like a tart cherry coffee porter with a little bit of lactose.
Ooh,
All things going well, that is nearly ready.
that sounds really nice.
Yeah, it does. Sounds fun, but it's not a beer for everyone. So to celebrate also my newfound rediscovery of hoppy IPA, I'm also planning to release. We're developing a new series at the moment for the summer, and we're just going to bang out some fun hoppy IPA, basically, under a kind of not a separate label, but like a series, a project that we're working on at the moment. So I'm hoping to have the first one out maybe the end of start of May, if I can get my shit together.
Awesome.
Yeah, stop putting rose water in things.
So I guess the question that everybody's probably been asking, how are you guys doing in these weird quarantine pandemic times? Like, and also, have you been affected by Brexit and supply chains and all that?
So what is the language rating of this podcast?
You can curse if you want to.
Oh, yeah,
we
we're
are we are definitely loud. We've got our rating there. Yeah, so swear all you want, girl.
It's a bit of a shit show, really. I mean, how could it not?
Yeah.
So all of our draft business is gone. Any draft that we did last year was it was just so difficult to manage when it was there, and tidying up and cleaning and putting back partials and sending out fresh and taking back stock. It was awful. But however awful it was for us, it was even worse for our customers. You know,
Sure.
they didn't know whether they were coming or going and what have you. I suppose what it really demonstrated to us was too much of a dependence on our and really, I suppose, gave me a kick up the arse to care about the cans a bit more. Because you get kind of lazy, right? You get used to dealing with your draft customers. You see them every week, and it gets a bit cozy. So it's good to, I suppose, be forced in some ways to start thinking about other routes and working on that a bit. We lost all our export though, because all our export was draft, so that was really hard. But we're still here, which is kind of as much as you can sort of hope for. We've got some fun things coming up. We're planning to try some stuff. We're thinking about releasing beer 440s.
Oh.
Rod
Okay.
because they do not go through our twisters on the line, so they're pain in the ass. But yeah, you know, I mean, we have, because the flip side of it is, because we don't have all of the draft work that we normally have, we've got time on our hands to think about, I suppose, other stuff. And it was really hard last year. It was so hard to plan and be motivated. And you know, you can look back on it now and go, well, we had 9 months where we didn't really ship that much draft beer and scheme of things. What were we doing? But we were always planning for. It seemed like we were just waiting. What we were doing is everything seemed like a few weeks out. It'll be a few weeks out, and we'll know more in 2 weeks. We'll know more in 3 weeks. We'll know more in a fortnight. So we lost, I think, a little bit of momentum just through sort of, holy shit, there's a global pandemic on, and what's happening, and is everybody okay and healthy? And then a little bit through waiting to see what was going to happen. And you know, like in March, we all thought everything was going to be back to normal by June. We were so stupid.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I remember this.
And then there was like just then you just end up with like total apathy where it's just like, what's the point? What is the point? It's just also, frustrating and annoying, and this is, in the grand scheme of things, beer is not important because there's a global pandemic on, so you just you feel a bit stupid, you feel a bit worthless, and why are you caring so much about what it is you're trying to do when there are people dying? So just a weird, like a totally weird year. I think we're probably after the misery that is always January, because even when the gym's closed, people are still joining the gym in January. It felt like, I'm not drinking enough beer. Don't think why I haven't finished today. But January is usually, we go away in January because it's so quiet. But there was nowhere to go this year, so we just had to stay and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But now it feels like with the vaccine rollout, even though we're kind of sitting here going, not really seeing hospitality opening again this year, but at least we know it will only be this year probably. Next year we probably will really be back to normalish. Whereas last year we didn't really we had no stage last year did we really feel.
There's an end in sight. Yeah, there's an end in sight.
Blow over by June, apart from those days, did we?
Yeah, I remember it was this time last year, actually last week, this time last year, I had been, Indeed was one of the first companies to send people home. So I've been working from home for a year now. And I remember they're like, well, we'll be working from home at least until May. And then in May, it was like, okay. Now it's going to be until at least September. Okay, now it's going to be till July next year.
We're talking in years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This day last year, I was in Spain on a sneaky little week away with my sister, and we were like, while we were away, I remember it was like all starting to kick off, and while we were away, the first person in Ireland died. The first person to be diagnosed was just before we went away, and while we were away, the first person died, and we were like, this is probably kind of serious,
Yeah.
But I mean, when you think back on it now, and everybody was, people were so preoccupied about who that first person was that was diagnosed, it just seems ludicrous. What people wanted to know what school that was. What was that school? You have to tell us. We have to know. And it's like, wow, it's a long time ago.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I was just coming back from Basel, a year ago last week, and it was still like, oh, will you come back the following week? And I was like, well, let's just see how it goes. But it was still like, they were sure, and I missed my connecting flight at Heathrow, and I was like, oh, there's people wearing masks at Heathrow. This is weird. And it wasn't everyone, not like now. It was, a couple people, but it was just weird and apocalyptic feeling.
Yeah. We came back from Taiwan visiting Tim's family in January. Just at the end of January, we were over there for Chinese New Year, and it all kicked off not all kicked off. It got really, really serious in Wuhan, and they started locking down while we were over there. And we were watching this fascinated, going, good Lord, this is all close. And there were the pharmacies in Taipei had signs outside saying no masks available. Taipei put an embargo on exports of medical supplies while they figured out what was going on. And we wore masks home through the airport. And then we got home and it was like, oh, that's so far away. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So stupid. We were so naive.
I know. I remember thinking, it'll whatever blow over, and then it just and then Ireland shut down. I remember this time last year.
And closed the pubs on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, and I live in Christchurch, and I remember it being eerily empty. Like there was nobody on the streets, and it was very strange. It was a very weird feeling.
Yeah. You kind of get on with stuff, and you're just like, you do your day-to-day thing, but every now and then I stop and I go, this is just so mental. It's just so mental.
Yeah.
But I think it's opened up. I think it's forced things to evolve in some ways that were going to take a long time otherwise. And it's just, I think the working from home and the remote working thing offers a degree of flexibility to people that's been tried and tested and demonstrated now that it works. And I think if that concept can be carried on in a lot of workplaces, I think that will make a lot of people's lives a lot more enjoyable in terms of commutes and stuff. So I hope that's something.
Yeah, I completely agree. The technology that I've seen emerge from this has been incredible. Like the innovation, it just shows you what people are capable of doing when put under pressure. You know, it's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, amazing. And hopefully we'll never see times like these again.
Oh God, hopefully.
One off, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. Everyone's here, apparently. Unless we keep melting the ice caps. We're just gonna
Have you watched Snowpiercer on Netflix?
No. That's the one about the train, right?
Yeah, give it a watch. It's interesting.
I think I saw a film with, who is that awesome Scottish actress with very severe hair and features. She's really scary. She's brilliant. Her name escapes me now. She's really posh.
Scottish?
Yeah.
Really oh, is it Kelly MacDonald?
No. She doesn't sound Scottish. She has she's BBC English when she acts, but she's amazing.
Okay.
Scottish anyway, but she's amazing. But I think I saw there was a film before there was a Netflix series. There was a film she was in it. I'm kind of tempted to try and Google it while I'm talking to you. It's so rude.
Yeah, it's one of those things that will be like in your head.
Oh God, sure. Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there was a Snowpiercer film about 10 years ago. I think I saw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's a film first. Yeah.
Remember?
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah. I could be wrong now, in which case it's going to be super embarrassing when this is up on YouTube.
No, you're probably right. I'm very out of the loop when it comes to movies. So all I can say is in the TV show, Sean Bean, his character, very weird.
And still alive, which is unusual for his character to like keep going. So
yes, it is.
For now, anyway. Maybe, I'm sure he'll have a gory death scene at some point.
Spoiler alert, Lisa.
I don't know. I'm just assuming because it's Sean Bean. So
just because it's Sean Bean. Yeah.
I do know Sean Bean.
Oh. So how is it, Hilary? Did you move on to the
I am. I'm on the Razzbeer and it's so nice.
It's a lovely color. For those who are just listening, it's beautiful.
The head retention is
very nice color. It's a lovely ruby red.
This year we used well, that would have been the end of last year. We used no, because so we've already packaged it.
Yeah, I just bought this bad boy, so.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking it was still in tank, but it's not. Concentrate and puree, raspberry concentrated puree. We moved to that last year, and instead of actual raspberries, which are. We got them in from Germany, and they are superb.
It's got a kick to it too.
Yes, just gets there on the finish.
It does, yeah. It's a really nice kick. So if anybody listening, if you like spice, get the Razzbeer because it's nice. It's a really nice kick.
And see, you can just pretend you've been for a run. It's super refreshing. Super refreshing.
Yes.
The first batch of raspberry we made was like 5%, I think. And it probably turned out like at maybe 5.1 or 2. And I was like, we got to bring the ABV down on this a bit because if you want to, like, after a bit of exercise, we have to. So we brought it back to 4.5. For extensive focus groups and research in the consumer arena, we decided to lower the ABV.
I like that. I like a good recovery beer. I'm here for that. I love it especially if I've gone for a long run. Like you want to reward yourself, so it's perfect.
Yeah, it's a 4.5%. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so sessionable.
Exactly. Well, I think we are probably about at time. So it was really fun. Let us close out. But this was so much fun. Thank you so much, Grainne, for spending time with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I personally enjoy seeing you every time I do. So
Likewise.
It's been fantastic. You can find, Grainne, what are your business handles? So give us your Twitter.
Facebook and Twitter are both at Metalman Brewing, or just / Metalman Brewing for Facebook, and Instagram is Metalman_Brewing. And then me personally is Metalman_Grow on Twitter, and I don't really do Facebook, and Metalman_Grow on Instagram as well, which I'm not so good at either. Twitter's better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm more of a snooper though than a poster. I'm lazy. I reply and I snoop.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And as for us, we are at facebook.com/BeerLadiesPodcast, Twitter at BeerLadiesPod, Instagram at BeerLadiesPodcast. And we will be back next week. So until then, cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Cheers.